Right. What's going on, everybody? Blaze here back with another episode of the Blue Chip Athletic Club podcast. I'm super stoked to introduce today Trevor Thomas, a good friend of mine, fellow coach, and I'm going to let him kind of get into who he is and a little bit about him and who he kind of helps. But first, I just want to say welcome, Trevor. I'm super stoked to chat with you today. And sunny San Diego is probably pretty nice right now in the beginning of June. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, we're fighting off that June gloom right now, but dude, this week's sunny. I'm happy to be out here. It's I just got to get my tan on.
Yeah, that's right. You're looking a little pasty over there.
No, man, living at this desk, it's a problem.
That's right. Cool, man. I tell everybody here because I don't even know if I fully know, but talk to us a little bit about kind of who you are, origin story. You can go back kind of as early or as far as you want to, but I'm excited to kind of sit back and listen to who you are and where you came from.
Yeah, I've been coaching for close to 10 years now. I dropped out of college when I was 18, immediately became a coach, was like, hey, this will be a good kind of side gig, something to kind of take up my time while I figure it out. I really, really fell in love with helping people, fell in love with just helping people get to where they've always wanted to be, changing lives. And it really did it became a passion for me. Worked in a gym for about 5 years, 5 or 6 years. Then moved to San Diego to start my business. Funny enough, this thing called COVID decided to hit right around then, and scrambling to make it work got me into the online realm, and just kind of went from there. I started out as a powerlifting and just kind of general coach. I used to run HIIT classes. Now I'm all about, finding the balance within life, finding what you're going to be able to do forever, enjoying the process and not going through all the phases that I had to go through with really kind of hating this process, really kind of, not enjoying it. And I think doing the conversion therapy with people to be like, hey, like you can really like this. You can really enjoy your life, achieve the body, and do everything in between. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You talk a little bit about kind of like phases of your health, and I'm curious, like, what were your phases as you're growing up? Because you're a California guy, from what I understand as well. So talk to me a little bit about like, mistakes you made or things that you've kind of learned along the way that you feel like you can kind of help guide other people through.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a lot of people, you get out of high school, you get out of college, you're playing sports. I played football for like 10 years or something. But I think what you immediately go to is like, okay, that's how you be in shape. That's how you achieve that body. And I think for me, and I know this is different for everyone, I was continuously working like I was still playing football, and I realized I hated that. So I was doing, I became a powerlifting coach purely because I was great at clean and press in high school. And I did that, and I went through this kind of doing things for a long time that I hated, workout wise, and eventually just burnt out. Like just was cutting my carbs to a crazy point, was eating little to no food, and just hit a heavy burnout even as a coach, and really just kind of not being in a great place mentally, dealing with some serious body dysmorphia, and just I think the pressure from other people in the environment too was not great. But as I kind of got out of Santa Clarita, my hometown, LA, and went to San Diego, I think it just took social media and following the right people and seeing that there's other avenues, there's, being okay with not being perfect, and just finding out what really worked best for me, which was just general lifting, hitting a calorie goal, getting the protein in, and just doing the day-to-day work to get 80 to 90% perfect, which I guess is an oxymoron, but yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, it's cool that you've like, I don't know, walked the walk. I feel like for me personally, I've been in the same route or realm where you're, I guess, what's the word I want? For lack of a better term, you don't know what you don't know. Where you're sitting there in school or in your sport or whatever, and you're playing, and then all of that ends, and it kind of ends with a screeching halt. And then you're like, dude, I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. Like, I don't know I don't have somebody writing my workouts anymore. I don't have a team around me, a community around me, more importantly, to go
Mhm.
do that. I don't have a coach there that's there telling me what to do and how to do it. And I think for a lot of people, that's where you kind of get lost in the sauce. And that sports journey for most people, I say, like, I don't know what the percentages are, but the percentage drop off after high school is like 80% of players that played sports in high school never play in college. And then after college, it's like 80 or 90% of those players don't continue on to play after that. And obviously the professionals and different scale of kind of like being the most elite of the elite. But pretty much everybody's professional sports career or sports career in general ends at some point, right? And then, you listen to people like retired athletes, like, I don't know what I did. Like, I don't, my whole life was this one thing. And then figuring out a way to incorporate some level of balance, finding other things that you enjoy, finding a way to make it a longevity game versus, hey, how can I bench 315? Can I, deadlift 505 or whatever your number goal was? Like, I want to know too, like for you, because I went to a powerlifting, I guess, like a hard push after I finished playing sports, so I can empathize and understand. But
Mhm.
what was the like desire for you? Did you have like number goals that you wanted to hit? Did you want to compete in the space? Why start there?
It was such an ego thing within the community. I was there. Like that was going around the gym. It was like you knew exactly how much every person deadlifted, clean and press, like, and it was like a look at me, look what I'm doing type thing. And I also felt obligated because I've always been bigger. I've always been, lifting, where it was like if someone asked me how much I benched, deadlift, whatever, I better have an impressive number to tell them. And that was just kind of this voice in my head. I don't even know if it was people from the outside, but it really was this need to be the person that I think everyone assumed I was. And moving away, finding a new way to train, I could give two shits about how much I deadlift. Like it's just, for me, I like to feel good, I like to look good. It's where I'm at. And I know deadlifting doesn't feel the best for me, and I can get the work in other places or do it lighter. But yeah, I think it was just I had to have the conversation with myself to be like, okay, do you actually like doing this? Does this really matter to you? Is it just other people putting it on you? So I'm not a numbers guy these days. I just don't care.
Yeah, it's funny. I totally sympathize and put myself in the same spot because a 22-year-old Blaze was the same way, dude. It was like, oh, dude, when I can bench 315 finally, like I got it. I'm gonna do it, or I'm gonna do this and or compete or not. And I found that like I was training this way, thinking that it was gonna get me to a certain aesthetic or a certain feeling or thoughts or emotions or whatever. And I got further and further away from that the longer I continued to train that way. Like I got slower, I got heavier. I was like 230 pounds, which for me is really heavy for my frame, like the biggest I had ever been. Strong as an ox, right? But like, dude, I'd be like winded going up a flight of stairs because I was like just not fueling properly. I was just picking up as much as I could and doing it for like 2 hours or more. And at the time, also, it was like so much time commitment. And I think that it was all just pointed in the wrong direction. It was pointed in a place that like was not bringing me closer to the goal. So when did you have that like epiphany moment where you're like, hey, I'm now going to take myself away from this space, which is probably a bit of like, hey, all I know is like this competing, this numbers game, all these other things. And then how could you take yourself away and step out into a new realm? And then you probably had to learn a bunch in that point too, I'm assuming. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it really took kind of near the end of when I was in LA. It really took social media for me. Like I started following uh God, he Callum Von Moger, who used to be a big bodybuilder back in the day, and he's not doing much these days. Jordan Syatt, which is just like a whole different side of like flexibility within what you do, being okay with not being perfect, things like that. And just kind of following these right people and taking a mishmash of like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I like this, I like that, and applying it for a year or two. And then seeing myself, get away from number one, enjoying what I'm doing finally, but also like seeing better progress within my physique and being like, oh, wow, I can have my cake and eat it too. Just the kind of application of all these little things I picked up just got me addicted to the gym again, which I hadn't felt in 4 years. So it was this kind of, it feels good to feel good type thing where I just was like, all right, it's working. I feel good. I'm gonna do this forever now. So it was easy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think that I had my own personal epiphany moment when I had seen like a photo of me standing on the beach with my buddy, and I was like, holy shit, dude, I'm fucking huge, bro. Like, I was like, good Lord, like, really? Is that like who I am? And, you know, going from like a senior in high school who was like 150 pounds soaking wet to like that 230-pound dude, almost 100 pounds heavier, like, I totally didn't even recognize myself. And then when I was playing sports, I even more so was just like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I think I had and I guess the other part, being in flight training and being told that if I gained like 2 pounds, I'd be too heavy for the ejection seat. I was like, oh shit, like we gotta make some changes happen, dude.
Gotta fit in that
But
cabin, man.
yeah, dude, for real, for real. Well, it's a rocket, strapped to your ass, so you got to make sure that that rocket's gonna fire it off the right way. Um, that's yeah, no, it's so cool. Like the turn and the shift, I think, from like the preteen where it's like, hey, I want to be the best performer, to then like the, oh my gosh, I need to be the strongest now, to then like, okay, how can I stay in the game for as long as I can? And that's part of the reason why I think that I resonate a lot with you. And for those of you that don't know, Trevor and I met at a fitness retreat down in Vegas, and like immediately kind of connected and hit it off. And I think is because, first off, he's a great dude. And then secondly, you start to talk to somebody who you have a lot of similar applications of like, hey, I just want to be doing this for as long as I can, because at the end of the day, like what's it all for, right? Like if I'm not sitting here able to move around or hike or, play sports with the next generation or whatever that is, like why are you going through everything that you're going through? Like it's great to look good, but eventually we're all going to be older, uglier, and wrinklier. So um,
Yep.
I'm curious as to like, you look in a time capsule and you're looking at yourself like 50-year-old Trevor. Like, what is 50-year-old Trevor doing and looking like right
Um, Looking like hopefully good. I'll take good. Um, I mean, when it comes to like what I'm doing, and I've thought a lot about like the progression of my business and things like that, I want to build a culture. I think that's always what I've seen is like I want to develop people to finally have that, initial aha moment to like, oh my God, I actually like this. Oh, I'm seeing results, in a way that's sustainable, obviously, but I think I really want to take my program beyond that and do really develop mentally strong people, mentally healthy people, and have this kind of blossom into more. And hopefully, just inspire a whole shit ton of people. That's really what I want to do at the end of the day is help and get people go have the aha moment I had, and to be like, oh my God, this is an outlet for me. I like this. This is helping my entire life. And hopefully avoiding all the crap, all the body dysmorphia, all the, just hating of a process. So within that, I mean, who knows where it goes, but, I also got a couple hundred projects I want to get done. So we'll see about that. But
Yeah. So you work with people in the online space. We do too, obviously here.
mhm.
What is you think like biggest hurdle that you have, like one of those clients come in who maybe they had I don't know, maybe that's an emotional experience. Maybe
Mhm.
they just looked at themselves one day and they're like, what the hell am I doing? And they saw a post of yours and they're like, hey, maybe I'll train with this guy, and you guys hop on a call, you talk, they decide to sign up with you. What's the biggest thing that you see them like struggling with early on? Like how's the progression that you've seen in working with people for as long as you've been working with them?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest initial struggle almost every time, is mainly in the weight loss area, is getting people to fuel themselves appropriately. Because usually when I get someone, it's like, okay, they're overweight, they're trying to lose X amount of pounds, whatever. But having to almost convince them that eating 1,000 more calories is going to get them to where they want to be. I think so many people are either aggressively under eating or do these big ups and downs. So taking them through that reverse dieting process is scary. And I get that. Like you're doing what you think got you there, or what did get you there is eating more. So that's always a big hurdle. But the patience with people too. I always tell everyone, I'm like, hey, my program isn't sexy. At the end of the day, I'm not getting you to lose 30 pounds in a month, because we're trying to have real progress opposed to rented progress. So getting them to buy into the fact that this is going to take time is also a little bit of a challenge. But after the first couple months, I think once people start feeling better and they start seeing those initial results, and I mean, even alone getting people to eat the right amount of calories, they feel better on that daily basis. They're stronger. They're starting to see those small things add up. That's usually when they go, all right, I guess I'm bought in. I'm gonna do the damn thing now. So yeah.
Yeah, dude, I totally get that. And for those of you that don't know, Trevor referred to a term called the reverse diet, and I can kind of key in on a couple of things about it, and then you can kind of take over too and talk about what your experience has been with it. But typically, people's metabolisms will kind of morph and adjust to where your caloric intake and your expenditure is. So let's say for me, I'm somebody who has been wanting to lose weight for a long time, and I see it on a blog that's like, hey, you should go and do a calorie deficit. And I'm like, sweet. Let's say, for example, I was eating 2,000 calories a day before, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go to 1,800 or 1,500, and I'm tracking super aggressively on MyFitnessPal. And maybe I lose a couple of pounds right away. And then I'm like, okay, sweet. Now I'm going to lose even more weight because I'm going to go into more calorie restriction. And then I'm going to be at like 1,300 and 1,200 and 1,000. Eventually your body gets to a point where it's like, dude, I'm in survival mode now. Like I am slowing down metabolic processes. I'm super energy like craven. Like you don't have the ability to move as well. Your sleep is probably just suffering. A ton of your just functionality in your body is really starting to shut down. And the reason that this reverse diet can be something that can be so beneficial for those of you that are, could be in this position where you're under eating so much, is because it's going to kind of kickstart that metabolism and those processes that come back. So you start, you add a couple hundred calories, and then you add another couple hundred calories, and you go into the following weeks and you start to build that back up. So then your body's operating in that natural norm. Then you can start to be a little bit more calorie restrictive over the long haul, and then see that more sustainable results over time, versus having your body go into survival mode and then want to hang on to every nutrient that you kind of take in over the course of the time. And it's something that I've seen too, and we've implemented here as well, that has been really effective for people. And I want to hit on what has your experience been when people are training and you're getting them to lift up weights that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable, and they start to kind of build a little bit of confidence, and then also strength? What have you seen be super helpful or not helpful in that realm too?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the reverse, is coming from this kind of era of popularizing calorie deficit. I feel like there was that kind of turnover of people like, oh, calories matter, to where now it's super popular and people just immediately want to go into the calorie deficit. So now it's almost getting re-educated on, okay, go through the whole process. So getting people to get eating the appropriate amount. Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that someone doesn't come to me and go, wow, I'm lifting way more weight, just alone from just putting gas in the damn car. So it's really cool to see that at the beginning, and really because it does build that confidence in people that they're so incredibly lacking usually with trying to eat more, with the doubt of okay, do I really trust this guy to tell me to eat 1,000 more calories, So it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to feel comfortable or see people get comfortable. But yeah, I mean, that's the almost easy process of it. Is I always tell everyone, they're like, I'm getting stronger. I'm not seeing progress yet, maybe with the physique, but I'm getting stronger. The coolest thing is hey, you're in line right now. That's exactly where it's supposed to go. So yeah, I mean, that's just a good turnover with people that, I mean, just about everyone sees. And it's exciting for me to smile at them and being like, hey, guess what? You're doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, the other thing too that I don't think has talked about enough in that space too is when you train and you get more muscular, you get stronger, your body requires more calories to operate those muscles to do those things. So you're almost like depositing into, like, I like to call it like your compound interest bank of like muscular growth, right? Like let's say you put on, I don't know, an extra pound of muscle, and then for the rest of the time that you're sleeping, when you're moving around, when you're walking, all of those things, you're getting the caloric effect of all of that time with that increased muscle mass that's going to help you burn down more calories. So like, not only is that going to be helpful in the grand scheme of things and probably getting you closer to the physique that you want, because for the most part, everybody wants to be lean and kind of muscular. But also like realizing like, oh my gosh, like this compounding effect of doing this over and over again, getting stronger is just going to help kind of build that bang for the buck later on too. It's crazy.
I mean, I see so many people, and I get it. It's like, hey, I want to lose weight. They're like, let's lose weight. I'm like, okay, if we take just a time to work on some muscle gain, if we really kind of get you in a spot where you have more muscle, I mean, you're going to turn and burn twice as fast when we actually get into that deficit. I mean, you're burning fat even when you're working on muscle building if you're in that area, but it's, I think that's the turn that's also starting to happen again with social media, with trends, with things where it's like, hey, muscle gain is good for every single person, no matter what your goal out there is. So it's the ongoing push of that for me too.
Yeah, I'm curious, like you train a lot of people in a lifting space, and you're, writing programs and a lot of that stuff ends up occurring. Like, what percentage of progress do you think in somebody's physique, in somebody's health in general, comes inside of the gym versus outside of the gym? What do you think
No.
that kind of lives in?
I mean, the habits, the eating, training, yeah, great. But I think there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Like, as long as you're training in some aspect and as long as there's some bit of muscle building movements in there, you're A-okay. Find what you're going to like. But everything outside of that, 90% of your progress. I've had clients that I had them just walking and doing our kind of nutrition plan, and they lost 10, 15 pounds off of that. It's really comes down to, okay, gym, get that locked in, do it. What else are we doing? Just maximizing your quality of life at the same time. Because I think that outside of nutrition, I think that's the obvious big thing you got to change. But something I'm pushing with a lot of my clients is, what's your stress at? I feel like everyone rolls their eyes when I ask that question. I'm like, stress, sleep, hydration. They go like, oh yeah, it's whatever, works hard, I'm not getting a lot of sleep. I'm like, okay, you want to make even more progress? Let's get that under control. Let's find ways to fix up what you're doing when you get home, when you are at work and you're crushing your brain with whatever your boss is telling you. How do we alleviate some of that? Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a lot and it's hard to avoid, but if we can start fixing that up, your quality of life, your physique, your strength, everything is just going to explode. So big area.
Yeah, it's so funny how I think everybody could benefit, myself included sometimes, actually a lot of times, is just simplifying everything that we do. And it's like, you know what? Like I see people, and shout out to like people like Brett Bainey, who are able to do some incredible things with their body, like bending in ways that I cannot, like handstand push-ups, create like amazing feats of strength and athleticism. But like you're not able to get to that point. You're not able to see those changes in your body if you're not sleeping well, if you're not drinking water, if you're not eating enough protein for your body so you can perform. The stress levels is huge. Like, your body, and I don't need to tell you this, but like your fight or flight responses, your rest and digest stuff is just so key and important. What have you seen for somebody who's coming to you? And let's say like I'm a client of yours and I'm like, hey, Trevor, like I'm stressed out, bro. Like I don't know what to do. My work's killing me. I work a 9 to 5. And let's say I'm working really like 8 to 6 and I'm like too busy to work out and I'm like really struggling. Like, what do you do to work with somebody to help them kind of work around that? And how do you, I guess, bring that to light in your coaching practice to help somebody reduce and alleviate some of their stress in their life?
I always say it's reality check time. It's some people you got to get really real with, and I'll sit down and we'll break down an entire day by the hour and be like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Why is this happening? And sometimes it really does. There's usually one or two things that comes to fruition that we have to have the hard conversation, be like, okay, like you need to cut that out. Or sometimes, I mean, I've had a couple people where it's like, okay, the drinking tends to be that kind of crutch because of that. Or there's always a crutch aspect. There's always a area where we have to sit there and I go, hey, this is really what's causing it. And just prioritizing you at the end of the day. Sometimes, I mean, I've had someone leave their job and find another job. And it's like, do I suggest that with everyone? No, obviously have a good opportunity ready to go. But sometimes it really does take some big changes for you to get on the path to a way better life. And that's outside of progress. That's outside of, getting more in shape. But, really being real with yourself, being real with me, and us sitting down and being like, hey, this, biggest stress levels, this is hard to get rid of. These two things need to be a priority because you're going to run yourself into a hole. So yeah, it's the stress for progress or less stress for progress type deal. But also I like to sit down and be real with these people and be like, hey, it's time to make a life decision because you could be living a much happier life.
Yeah, I think something that you kind of, I don't even want to say gloss over, but really don't, people don't think about, and myself included for a long time too, was like, what is the, quality of the time that you're spending doing X, Y, or Z things? So let's say, hey, I'm going to work and I work 9 to 5. Well, is my work actually taking all that time? Am I actually working 9 to 5, or am I being productive for 3 to 4 hours in the morning, taking an hour long lunch, taking an hour to like BS with a coworker and then get back to the work, and then basically being so fried that I'm like, I can't really do anything else anyway.
Mhm.
So I think like a time audit is really effective. Like that's a great way to really bring attention to somebody's day and be like, hey, are you spending 2 hours watching Netflix? Or are you really too busy to spend 30 minutes in the gym space, or to think about the meals that you're going to eat for that week, or kind of whatever your we'll call stress alleviating activity could be.
Mhm.
And I think too, like you can be in a position where you can be the victim of all of these things happening, or you can be the person that owns your situation and then takes your situation and does something about it. Like you can be the person that's like, oh, I have all these responsibilities and this is happening and it's stressful, and it's like, yeah, well, you could have that, you could sit there and be that way, or if you'd be like, I get the opportunity to move my body around, and I get the opportunity to work, provide for my family, and do these other things, and then also now I'm able to be better for them because I can be healthier, I can run with my kids, I can go for a hike with my wife, or I can set the example for the next generation, whatever your kind of, we'll call like guiding true north star, or whatever that is along your journey and why you do it. But yeah, man, there's a lot of things that I think like people neglect, like Aflac. And then this is nothing against Aflac or any other insurance company. Like the insurance company is going to run whether you work there or not. Like that things will still happen. The job will still kind of get done whether you're working for them or not.
And I think it's funny because it is the coaching trope to be like, you have time, everyone has time. And like, but it's true. And it does take, I'm so big on like, okay, let's make this easy for you. Let's make this simple. But there's also aspects where I'm going to be a hard ass and be like, it's time to build some discipline and say, hey, let's be real. I'm spending 2 hours watching Netflix. I could be doing something good for me in that aspect. So it's overtold, and I feel like people always say it to me before I even say it, but it's like, hey, sometimes you got to wake up. Sometimes you got to be like, hey, I am being lazy, I am being mentally weak. So it's also what I talk about with just the dichotomy of like, hey, what's the Alex Hormozy quote? Let's make it easy as possible to work as hard as you can. There's aspects where you need to step the fuck up and be like, let's do this thing. And then there's other aspects where it's like, let's make this easier so you can just glide through it.
Yeah. Talk to me about some strategies that you've implemented. Let's say like I'm somebody who's new to training or new to nutrition. How do you
Mhm.
make it easy for people? What's some things that you've done with them in the past that you've seen be effective?
Nutritionally, I mean, I just like to keep it with calories and protein. I think that's super easy for people to digest. I think getting someone on a macro plan obviously is more effective in some aspects, but getting really used to just having the core necessary things and then maybe evolving that as we go is really the big thing that I've done. Training wise, I'm cool with starting you with the most basic at home push up workouts that you want to do. But that's again, everything we do is evolving. And I always look for opportunity to push someone a little bit more, do something a little bit harder. And eventually we get to that point of just like, hey, here's the plan, build, build, build. So it's the evolving plan that I think really helps people, but also I think with staying up with calls, with Zoom calls, with seeing me, with having to face me every week does a lot with people of just the sense of like, hey, not even being scared of me in an aspect, but me having that kind of that moment to be like, it's okay. Like, let's talk about what went wrong and let's address that for next time. Get 10% better every week, get 5% better every week. So I think conversation is also huge behind this and really addressing problems opposed to being hard ass coach and being like, well, you messed up, do better tomorrow. Like, so.
Yeah, I'm curious what your experience has been so far. Um, you lay out a program and it's like, hey, you're going to check in with me every week or every 2 weeks or whatever your kind of frequency is. And let's say a client A or person A is very, very on it. They're like this person that's like that, hey, Friday hits or whatever day you guys predetermine is going to be a day to check in. It
Mhm.
hits, they've got, they're set up on a Zoom call or you guys are chatting via whatever documentation you use or whatever. And then person B does not do that. They're almost like a ghost where you have to go and find and hunt them down and be like, hey, let's schedule a call. Let's do these other things. Um, I'm curious, like you write the same program for them and all things are the same, who gets the better result over time? And I'm sure it's pretty obvious, but
I mean, yeah, it's guy that's showing up with notes to the call. It's the person that does it day in, day out. But there's bad sides to that too. When someone is almost too perfect, I like to almost break them down and be like, hey, like I get it, you're super on point here. How taxing is that for you? Are you refraining from doing things for the sake of being perfect? Because I almost like it when I see them screw off for a weekend on occasion. Like it shows the balance within it. It shows that they are capable of going and have a couple beers with their friend, eating some chicken wings, and then getting back on track on Monday. So I think that's beneficial, more beneficial than being perfect. But then person B, I'm never afraid to track someone down. You're going to get calls from me. You're going to get texts from me. I'm going to be like, hey, book a call. We need to chat. And my clients definitely know that. But that there's room to grow. And that's what I like. If someone is not showing up, if someone just doesn't really know the groove of things, that's when it's on me as a coach to give them the resources to show up for them. And it's kind of the beauty of what we do. I think it's exciting when someone is a little bit lost or a little bit unsure, but you get that opportunity to prove to them that this shit works, that this is going, you show other people and you show, hey, look at what this person did. You can do that too with just 3 changes to start, just 2 changes, whatever it is, take that building block. And as long as they're willing to take the steps, it's a great experience for me to watch as a coach and why I do what I do.
totally, man. And it's funny, like I've been in a position recently where like people have been like, oh, I can just go on a chat GPT and like have them spit out a workout program like that. And I'm like, sweet. Have you done that yet? How's it working for you? And I think that that's true. Like if you're smart, you can go on to chat GPT right now. You can type in, I want a day that's going to target my chest and triceps. And maybe this is the way that you train. And I'm not saying that it is, but I want a day that's going to target my chest and triceps on a Monday, my back and biceps on a Tuesday, and my legs and core on a Wednesday, and I want to repeat this pattern for 4 weeks. And I want you to build in, concepts of progressive overload, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That's really great for somebody who's intrinsically motivated. They know what they're doing in training. And oh, by the way, they don't need a community of support. They're kind of like the lone wolf trainer, which is like the 0.00001% of the world. So talk to me about what you think and what you've seen from the value of coaching. And I guess another question being like, do you as a coach have a coach? And what is the value that you've seen from that in your health and wellness journey, or just in your business journey in general?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell everyone you can go get the best training program in the world, but if you're not going to do it, who gives a shit? Like you need someone that's willing. And I think that's with you and I is we're conversationalists. We like to talk with people. We like to see what's really going on and dive in. I always say this is so much more than just moving weight. This is a mental game. It's emotional. It's doing this process isn't going to be the same today as it is in December. And there's this constant change that I get to be here and be that voice of reason, talking weird situations, where anything from like going to a wedding, I'm going on vacation. What should I do? Is it okay to just screw around? And really just taking it as lessons opposed to being coached to keep you on track. I want to make sure that we're going through situations, every bit of situation, to say, how do we react? How do we adapt? How do we change something? Because yeah, you can have a concrete training plan. You can have a nutrition plan too, but it has to change, or at least it should be willing to change, and it should have some sort of finding what's going to work for you and realism within life. ChatGPT doesn't have realism of like, hey, like I really kind of want a Snickers bar, but it's going to take me over my calorie. Do you think I should do it? It's like, okay, that's a little bit of a conversation we can have and make you feel better about either direction. So I just think at the end of the day, Zoom calls I have, the text messages we do are more important than the program in general, because that's what's going to make you feel good. That's what's going to keep you on track. That's what's going to keep you wanting more and staying motivated.
Yeah. And do you have a coach yourself?
Not right now. I mean, business coaching wise, we were both there with PTBI, but not right now. Man, I get approached by bodybuilding teams like on Instagram, and there's always a part of me that's like, go do it. But I live in San Diego and it's about to be summer, and I'm not trying to do that. So
yeah,
but
either way,
there's a couple coaches out there that I'm always on the fence with of taking myself higher. And I know I should, and I know I could. It's just more of a timing thing for me, in the sense of like, I'm ready for that at any moment. I'm scared to do it too, so I think maybe I got to buy in a bit.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be just a fitness coach, I guess. It was kind of more general question of like coaching, and I say the value of coaching, I think, is really, really undervalued. Like, we met through a business coaching program. And I don't just have like one personally. I've got like 3 business coaches, and I've got like I train with somebody else who helps me there and pushes me beyond. And I train myself too. And there's times where it's like nice to suffer in silence alone, write my own programming. And then it's awesome when somebody else comes in objectively and they're like, hey, I'm going to make you ride an echo bike until you're about to puke. And then I kind of know what my new norm is, right? And the same with business, right? You get somebody in a mastermind group, or you get to talk to somebody else when you're having an issue, or you're having a problem, whether that's with some staff, whether that's with a client, and you're hitting a roadblock and you're like, hey, I need some support, and I need somebody that I can lean on to be able to move forward and get past this and understand what that pitfall is. And that's exactly what the coach is there for. Like, having somebody there as a single point of contact where you can lean on them in difficult times, and then also cherish the good ones, right? Like, talk about the benefits of like stepping on a scale. And this is just in a fitness, we'll call like a fitness winning realm, but like stepping on a scale and seeing it go down like a couple pounds in a week or something like that, like celebrating that with somebody, and not just being like by yourself and undercutting like what you've done and the amount of work that you've put in. Like, it's so relevant and important to celebrate that all the time.
And that's it right there. And I see that with everyone that I work with is like they'll lose 3 pounds, 5 pounds, something small, quote unquote, but I'm here to hype them up. Like I'm here to be like, hey, dude, you don't realize how big that is. Like things are working. You're going in the right direction. And it's also getting in areas that, you talk about Brett, like that's someone I would work with in the sense of I'm not the best at mobility, but if I had a coach, I could be the best of it. I could add another asset to my program. I could, just be something more. So, I mean, at the end of the day, hire someone you're bad. So hire for someone you're bad at. Someone for something you're bad at. Jeez. But I mean, there's so much opportunity, and I think everyone should be looking to grow at the end of the day. If you suck at something, great. I suck at running. That's my mission right now is I'm about to go run after this, after I do another call. I'm like, got to go out there, got to get it done, but inspired to do more. And when you've done some, go get higher with a coach.
There you go. Go sign up for a marathon, dude. We'll put you on the spot and just tell you to.
Let's relax. Let's chill. Let's 2
Yeah.
miles is enough for now, right?
Yeah. I meant to tell you earlier that I had competed in that High Rocks event the other day, and I would say that was a pretty brutal one. If you're ever interested in kind of delving into a real, we'll call full body metabolic, you feel like you're in a sprint for an hour and a half, man. It's pretty tough.
Let me conquer the 3 miles comfortably, then we can have some conversations.
There we go, baby. There we go. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it, dude. I think it's been really awesome to chat with you again. And we haven't really chatted a whole bunch since I was down there visiting you in San Diego. But I just want to leave, we'll kind of end this with like, hey, if you have one piece of advice that you could give to somebody who is, on the fence and going either to work with somebody in their health and wellness, or they're looking to make like one positive change in their life, what do you think that would be? What's that piece of advice that you give to them, whether it's health and wellness related, whether it's mindset related, kind of any of those things that you think would help them along the way?
And this goes with my brand, so sorry for cursing, but you need fucking help. Like, I don't care what you're trying to do. Like, you are capable of so much. And if you're going down this road, like, I got it. You can be so much farther, so much faster, so much more if you put down your ego and we're just okay with taking some help. And I mean that in every aspect of mental, physical. If you're struggling and you want to be more, go get some help, go invest, go do what you got to do, because you are able to be whatever you think you can get to. You can go 10 times farther than that. You just need a little help, and it's perfectly okay to have some help.
Yeah, man, I totally appreciate that. And I get plenty of it myself personally. I definitely don't know everything. And that's why I get on the phone with smart guys like you to teach me something all the time. So I appreciate it, man. For anybody, you want to drop your Instagram information or anything like that real quick? You can throw that out to everybody.
Yeah, at 2Tfitness. It's the number 2 letter T fitness. I think you can also look up Trevor Thomas Fitness. All platforms, but come say what up.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate it, dude. For all of you guys listening, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a shout, and we'll drop all of Trevor's stuff into the show notes. So without further ado, peace out.